Hello everyone, thanks so much. Pleasure to speak with you all today. I've got a new way of doing presentations, and I'm calling it Digital Dim Sum. And I sometimes wonder with that article, that Google article that came out maybe 18 months ago, is Google making us stupid? I'm starting to see that presentations that are really short and really quick might be of benefit. So, what is on the menu? Well, I'm going to do a little thing, a quick thing here called Show Me the Money. I started it last year. I'll tell you more about it in a moment. Technology toys, a look back. Digital data smackdown. And we'll take a look at an overnight success. Okay, so Show Me the Money. So, last year, I don't know, for those of you who were here, I asked a question of the audience, and as I'll ask you right now, and if you could show me by just raising your hand, how many people here are currently working on an iOS app? So, would you say that's a little less than half the room? Anyone? Yeah? Maybe the half? Okay. How many people here are making money in the apps store currently?
How do you define me?
You're not making, you don't have to make money hand over fist. I mean, if you make 99 cents, you're making money. Well, no, wait, that's 70 cents, right? If you're making 70 cents, you're making money. How many people, if you could show your hands again? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. Of you 12 that raised your hand, how many of you have recouped your development costs? Just think of one app, maybe your most popular. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 hands, 5 hands. Oh, 6 with Jack.
Ask me again, sir.
Okay. I hope you all make lots of money. So the reason I asked this is because I asked the same question last year, and I don't know if you remember. I asked how many people last year were working on apps, and about half the room said they were. And of them, 5 people were making money. And of that, 2 people had recouped their investment on development, and I believe those 2 were from Moose. So in a simple way, it looks like there is some growth, and that's the end of the first course. And we move on. Okay? Technology toys. Technology toys, look back. In preparing for the 10th anniversary of Duster Magic, I haven't been to all 10, but I have been to the last 9. And it's interesting, as I was going through presentations from years past, to see what toys were all the rage in terms of hype, and which ones succeeded and which ones didn't. And so I put together a quick little slideshow of some of those toys. And I'd love it if you would, once you see it, if you know it, to yell out the name of the maker and the name of the toy. If you worked on the toy, don't yell out anything. Okay, this here?
It's the fly.
Fly from Leapfrog?
Donkey Kong.
From
That's Nintendo.
Nintendo. Donkey Kong and Nintendo.
Butterscotch Hasbro.
Yeah, Butterscotch Hasbro.
Zizzle.
Is Zizzle.
Dance Us.
Anyone?
This is
Right.
No. All right, it is Hasbro. I'll move on just for time.
iToy.
iToy by Jax.
Hyperdash.
Hyperdash, Wild Planet. Smart Cycle, Fisher Price. Somebody said it back there. Microsoft Acclimates. Yeah? Need the Jeopardy music. Hasbro NetJet. Sony iToy. Anyone? This was just, it had such a brief announcement. Jack's Sesame Street Plug and Play TV.
Yeah, is that electronic?
It is electronic. Mattel juice box.
Pixie Hall, this is
Oh yeah, the jewel.
bracelet.
It is part of Pixie Hall.
Technosource?
Well, technically it is Technosource Clickables, correct. I put Disney, but technically it is Technosource.
Kitchens.
Tooth Tunes. Leapster, Leapfrog, Pixter, Fisher Price,
V-Motion.
not V-Motion, sorry,
You smile?
V-Smile.
That's a mouse.
It looks like a mouse. I had to take the name off the thing. It did really well for the first year it was out. Hasbro's Video Now. Same inventor as Tooth Tunes. Big creepy Dora, yeah. Fisher Price. Whenever I have the chance to use this photo, I'd love to. It wasn't out that long for anybody's here from Fisher Price. And that's the end of this meal. Moving right along. Okay, digital data smackdown. I need some help. What I often do, some of you who know me and some of you don't, I have one foot in the classroom and one in consumer. My company develops products for both sides of the fence in a way, and all of them are learning in one way or another. But it's interesting, we follow trends in ways that most educators don't, and maybe the way most consumer folks don't. So I thought I would share with you at least 15 trends in 90 seconds or less. But I need someone, can you help me out with the timing?
Yep.
And when it gets to about 10 seconds before 90 seconds, just yell it out.
Is that the same as 80 seconds?
Yes, at 80 seconds. Yes. Okay, so you tell me when to start, and I'll start going through the data. Oh, did you go?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Okay, kids 8 to 18 cram about 11 hours of media consumption in 7.5 hours a day. 35% of all 10 to 11-year-olds have a mobile phone. The average age of a child who gets a mobile phone is less than 9.7 years old. Of 62% of teens that are allowed to have cell phones in the school, they can't use them in classes. 97% of teens play video games. 50% of them played a game yesterday. In 2009, the iOS stole about 19% revenue from the portable gaming industry. In the first half of this year, gaming apps were responsible for about $2.6 to $2.9 billion in the US. That's just 6 months. Let's see, 46% of all kids 3 to 11 will be using a virtual world next year, where 21% of teens will be doing the same thing next year. There are currently 300 virtual worlds. I follow about 120 of them for kids under 12. This time next year, there should be about 8 tablets available on the market. And, ooh, gosh, there are 3,400 iPads available and 12 million downloads to date. There are 300,000 iPhone, iTouch apps and over 5 billion downloads from the store.
80
Okay,
seconds.
whoops, oh, look at that. Everything's helping me. Alrighty, I'll just skip through some things here. Preschool apps popular, the CUNY report that came out last year, but look at that wide open space in middle school. 73% of teens use social networks. For every hardcover book that's sold, 2 ebooks are sold. And Facebook overtook Google in terms of user traffic. And what is interesting is Google is now could be considered a search engine, while Facebook could be considered a recommendation engine. Sorry that took longer than 90 seconds. That's the next course. Okay, the last one, an overnight success. Yes, question? Some of them are available on YouTube already. I've given a version of this presentation before, just that data. I've added in a few new slides though. It'll take me a little time. I mean, if you write me, I'd be happy to send you the links. If anybody writes me. Yeah, I could do that, I guess. Yeah, okay, certainly. Alrighty, so this is a newer thing that, a newer item on the menu. I haven't tested it out before. It hasn't been ordered before. And the idea of an overnight success in the software world, I think, is kind of crazy. Once the media picks up a great story of a company that got acquired, and it's an overnight success. And I thought it might be helpful to demystify some of the stories that are going on. And before the conference, I wrote to a number of inventors of really cool products for kids. Heard back from some of them. Some of the folks I heard from I had interviewed before, some I hadn't. And so I'm just going to share with you 4 for now, and maybe others at another time. But anyway, I thought I'd start off with Jim Margraf, just because he was here, and he was very gracious with his time a few weeks ago and gave me an interview. And I think Jim is amazing in the way he thinks and the products he's been involved in. And in January of 2008, he launched the Pulse Smartpen. But what most people don't know is the Pulse Smartpen got its kind of beginnings from an article out of Wired magazine in 2001. And Jim started brainstorming and sketching and designing and talking with engineers and product developers. And at the time when things were starting to gel for him, he was working at Leapfrog and released Fly. And sometime after he left Leapfrog, he joined Anoto and then started a company called LiveScribe and released the Pulse Smartpen. But what's interesting is while it launched in 2008, he got the idea in April of 2001. And Leapfrog Fly launched in 2005. And what's interesting, when you talk to Jim, you look at that between 2001 and 2008, that's 7 years, and Jim says, I'm not done. It's not the vision that I want it to be. And what's amazing, and I don't know if Jim really said it yesterday, was that he didn't set out to create a pen technology. He set out to change the way people think, which I think is brilliant. But anyway, still work in progress, according to Jim. So moving on to the next inventor, and Lane was here as well. And Lane is another person that is often talked about as an overnight success. He launched Club Penguin with 2 other co-founders in 2005 and sold to Disney on August 1st, 2007, almost 2 years later. But it wasn't 2 years in the works. Long, long ago, Lance Preeb, one of the engineers, started a gaming portal called Rocket Snail. And he had the idea thinking that social media and allowing kids to connect with one another online might be really neat, and he wanted to do something that was safe. And at the time, MySpace was taking off, and there was all kinds of things in the press about it not being safe. So he created some kind of chat tool and wasn't quite sure what the vehicle for delivering it to kids would be. One day, they were talking about it in the company that Lance and Lane were working in, and they happened to see this page on a daily calendar of who is this artist again? Gary Larson, that's right. Where it's a penguin who slipped on a banana peel, but yet he's in the frozen tundra. It's just like, what? And they laughed so hard and thought it was so funny that it's like, wow, that would be a great vehicle. And by the way, penguins, who are social creatures, waddle, which might be really easy to animate. So they took that idea, they created experimental penguins, and then shortly thereafter created Penguin Chat, and many years later created Club Penguin. This is a more recent version. And here you can see this is a very busy area of conversation and avatars waddling around. But if you go back and look at the dates, so before, Lance Preeb thought of creating Rocket Snail before October of 1999, good 6 years before they launched Club Penguin, and 8 years before they sold. Experimental Penguin was developed in July of 2000, and Penguin Chat July of 2001. So, this overnight success was a good 8 years in the making. And Mitch Resnick, also former speaker here at Dust Magic many years. I love Scratch. I don't know if you know Scratch, and if you don't know Scratch, it's worth getting to know. It's such a dynamite product. So Scratch launched in May of 2007. But what's interesting is most people don't know the roots of the idea came from another initiative that Mitch was part of called the Computer Clubhouse. There was at one time only one, and I don't know how many they have now, but there was a sponsorship from worldwide. How many? Hundreds. Computer Clubhouse, the concept of it is great. It's making computer technology accessible in inner cities and rural areas to underprivileged kids and schools. And one of the things that Mitch noticed was kids were creating amazing art, and kids were dying to make games. But the tools to allow for it, while Photoshop was their tool of choice, we couldn't quite say that it was that accessible at the time when they launched computer clubhouses, or there weren't any really good tools for making games, and the kids kept saying, I want to make games. So they took a look at a product called Squeak by Alan Kay, and Mitch and his team kind of thought about Squeak and what they could do to try to make a tool for kids to create quickly, and came up with Scratch, which is a really great visual programming language, and really gets kids thinking, and it's very empowering to do whatever they want to do from an interactive perspective without buying software or licensing, or very easy to upload and share and so forth. And one of the things that's so not talked about is this Scratch board, $50, is so worth getting if you're a Scratch fan. It's worth every penny. So it launched in May of 2007. The concept for Scratch was developed in 2002. Mitch and his group at the Media Lab got an NSF grant in 2003. And while Mitch says, computer clubhouses played a part in seeing how kids wanted to create, and that was in 1993, Mitch says really the idea for it came about from his group in 2002. So a good 5 years before they went to market. So someone who is not a speaker here at Duster Magic, although many of us, I imagine, may have spoken with Michael Acton-Smith, the CEO of Mind Candy and developer of Motion Monsters, and I had the opportunity to speak with him a few days ago and asked him, tell me about Motion Monsters. So you may not be aware of it here in the US, but it's wildly successful in the UK, and if you look at the US trends, it's growing quickly. Motion Monsters launched in April of 2008 and has a really interesting story, which Michael is oh too kind to share the details of. Long ago, he got $9 million to develop a social media game for teens and young adults called Perplex City. And as the money was starting to wind down, spending oodles of dollars, it was not succeeding. It had card play based a component, and Michael is amazing businessman and product thinker, and so there were all these other kinds of Perplex City, but nothing was working. So with the few remaining dollars that they had as the $9 million was about to run out, Michael thought back to some of the things he loved as a child, and one of the things he thought was so funny was a pet rock, and how people could kind of project a life into a rock. And he said, how can I do that online? Wouldn't that be neat to do with kids? What could come up with that? And as a result, he developed Motion Monsters. And here's kind of a look inside one of the rooms and one of the characters and some of the other things that you might find inside of an avatar's room. So they launched Motion Monsters in April of 2008, but yet they were funded for Perplex City and launched in April of 2005. And it wasn't until 2007 that they realized, we've got to do something quick to make some money. So they took the pet rock idea and started building Motion Monsters, and that's the end of that overnight success story. Thank you very much.